What are you doing?
Hello there. I'm watching Joe Barnard's presentation at the National Rocketry Conference 2020.
Why are you doing that?
Funny you should ask, because that bridges perfectly into the purpose of this video.
What's the purpose of doing this?
Well, the purpose of this is to announce, sort of, that the channel is being revamped from whatever it was before to Astro, the Australian Scientific Terrestrial Research Organisation, which is a company I plan on officially establishing by the end of 2021. Well, so originally the purpose of Astro and this in general was to attempt a crowdfunding campaign to begin construction of a spacecraft with the goals of eventually, by maybe the end of the year, sending something past the Kármán line. I've come to the conclusion that was completely silly of me and impossible to achieve with my current circumstances. So instead, I am announcing that I will begin production and development on model spacecrafts with the intent of not only launching them, but by the end of the year, potentially landing one, Falcon 9 style, and maybe within 2 years, attempting and succeeding at the attempt of a belly flop like what SpaceX is currently doing with their Starship serial number prototypes. Now we will hopefully smoothly transition to footage of 3D designs and other things associated with the model rockets that will be accompanied by my voiceover. Well, hopefully that transition was smooth. Well, unfortunately, can't do what I intended to do. My intent was to show a video of me going through on Fusion 360 designs that I've made, but unfortunately, due to a continuous problem that I appear to be having at the moment with Fusion 360, I actually wasn't able to record it. So I just have to use some images that I possess of, I believe, 2 of my designs, because I mean the main one that I was going to show was a SpaceX Starhopper that I had designed to use as a model rocket, but unfortunately it was the first thing I ever made on Fusion 360 and it was so crude that I'm too embarrassed to actually show it. So with the Starhopper though, similar, not, I guess you could say similar to the real thing, it would be used as a Pathfinder vehicle. I would drop it from a drone and drone propulsive would land it. Obviously I'll redesign the crappy thing in the future, but I mean, time will tell. The first image, and what appears to be at the moment the only image of my own design that I'll be able to get up, is something I'm calling, at this point, the hop test vehicle. So it uses cardboard airframe, that's the white thing that I have, and a weird little permanent non-moving landing gear system, and so what it is, it's a test vehicle of a divot type movement, very similar to what SpaceX did with Grasshopper. Now, unlike a lot of model rockets, and even what you'd see with Joe Barnard with what he's doing, I intend to have mass simulators in my model rocket. I'd like them to be at least to be significantly heavy enough, or just use weak engines. So I don't want the altitude to be too high. I'd like to use it very similar to how you'd see in something like a SpaceX hop, like SN5 or SN6 test, for example. So that's what I intend to do, but we'll see there. And I'd argue that that's actually harder to control and make happen. Now the exciting thing, and again, due to Fusion 360 crashing, I can't get this image, so I'll just show the image of the actual thing. I want to attempt to do a SpaceX Starship belly flop, which I've never seen ever done before in model rocketry, and I'm very hopeful that that will work out. The next thing may or may not have an image yet to decide that yet, but I will, in fact, I'll be attempting probably soon to make a little custom model rocket that I began to build. May very well be the first I launch, and it's very similar to Super Heavy, and my intent is to launch it up. Now I'm using incredibly weak engines for it, so from calculations it'll only get to about 9 to 11 meters, and then the intent there is to not so much propulsively land it, but catch it with the launch pad on little makeshift grid fins, very similar to what SpaceX intends to do with Super Heavy. The next thing, something I'm going to try to do soon, is make a small liquid fueled jet engine. Now, it'll look very similar to some amateur pulse jets, but my intent is it to not be a pulse jet, just similar to a rocket engine, but it doesn't use, I believe the pronunciation is it D Laval nozzle? I believe my pronunciation is right, but yeah, it won't be converging, diverging like your typical rocket nozzle. I'm gonna use kerosene and hydrogen peroxide as a fuel. I'm just gonna pump it into it and then use a spark plug to ignite it. It's gonna be somewhat crude, but I hope it works. That would be really quite good, and it could make a little launch vehicle. Next project, something I've considered. Spoilers for Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's a technology in it that Alfred designed for Batman's Gauntlet that absorbs the energy of when it gets hit by an energy weapon. Now, this will have no practical use at all until the military starts using energy weapons, but yes, I'd like to design something like that that could actually repurpose the energy it absorbs to generate electricity. And I think that'll be it for this. Hope this transition is again smooth. Thank you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video / announcement. I will leave down below the link, hopefully, for Patreon, so if the time ever comes where people believe that they'd like to donate, they can, which would be extremely helpful because I can probably not do the majority of this or the things that I intend to do without funding of some sort. It doesn't have to be very much, it can be really however much you would like to, but there will also be benefits that you can find at Patreon. Quick shout out to Joe Barnard. Sorry for referencing you in the beginning, but I mean, great segue though.
Pause.
Well, I hope Elon Musk sees this eventually. I'm gonna do some great things. Hopefully, superluminal travel by the end of the decade. Yeah. Enjoy yourselves, and since the YouTube algorithm requires me to say this, or not so requires, but it favors videos that do, subscribe.